Vladimir Kara Murza is a British-Russian opposition leader, journalist, a critic of the Kremlin and of the Putin doppelgangers. He's quite young. He was born in 1981. He's been an advocate for democracy and human rights in Russia, rare, and he's survived two poisoning attacks, one in 2015, one in 2017. He attributes both of these to the Russian government because of his political activities. So in so many ways, he is carrying the flag and leading sort of a parallel misery to that of Alexei Navalny. And we know how it ended with Alexei Navalny. This is a regime that needs to be brought into line with civilized life. I was speaking to some people yesterday in Russia who were saying that the inflation has reached absurdity, that this is a miserable experience, and in one sense this shows that Western sanctions are working, but in another sense that's an opportunity for the West, for Britain, for America to sit down at a table with the Putin doppelganger and with Kremlin authorities and negotiate a lifting of some of these sanctions in return for an improvement in the health of individuals held in Russia, in return for a cessation of the bombardment of Ukraine. We can do something. We can sit down. We can negotiate. When we don't have to compromise President Zelensky's position. We can sit down with Putin. We have something to talk about. And I don't really understand why there is such a binary approach to negotiation. But there is, from both sides. And it's immature, it's stupid, it's childish, it's madness. And people like Kara Murza are caught up in this problem. His activism includes advocating for Western sanctions against Russian officials involved in human rights abuses, speaking out against Russia's military actions. His outspokenness, his advocacy has made him a significant figure in the opposition movement. And in April 2022, he was arrested. He was accused of spreading false information about the Russian military, and was later charged with treason. And this came after he gave an interview, I think, to CNN, where he condemned the Russian regime and its war in Ukraine. And he was subsequently declared a foreign agent, and yet a foreign agent who is imprisoned in a Russian prison. If he's a foreign agent, he should have been thrown out of the country. It's a designation used by the Russian government to belittle individuals. I have quite a few friends who are now termed foreign agents, and I in fact, I think my own position in my university, I'm no longer considered a professor. I think I've now got the title Professor Emeritus, so I should feel proud that that Russia has turned its attack partly on me too. So there we are. You know, Kara Murza suffers from polyneuropathy, which is a nerve condition that is a direct result of his previous poisoning, and that complicates his imprisonment and adds to the problems that he's got. It's health concerns exacerbated by his incarceration, and that almost certainly is what has led to a transfer to the prison hospital in Omsk. but he remains a political threat to the Kremlin simply by being alive. Simply by being alive. And his dual British-Russian citizenship, his connections with with Western political circles, which allowed him to lobby for international sanctions to put pressure on the Russian government, effectively is still there because he's not stopped being a British citizen. But we seem to have stopped helping him, and that is to our shame. We can't make a great fuss about helping Zelensky and not helping Kara Murza. We need to be actively engaged in that process of helping Kara Murza and people in his position, who are brave enough to publicly criticize the fake Putin, the real Putin, the Putin in the fridge snuggling up to Smedley frozen peas, who can't tell the difference between a pea and a putrefied hemorrhoid. His survival, Kara Murza's survival of 2 poisoning attempts, his continued activism, which I have no doubt continues as much as it can, even in prison, his human rights advocacy, his opposition to evil. Don't be in any doubt that Putin's regime is evil. Evil is manifest in the small things, in the ephemeral, and Putin's abuse of power is evident all the way through the system, from the toad Pyotr Tolstoy right up to Sergei Lavrov. Evil, evil, evil. And Lavrov was a person who I thought was a very positive influence, but he has drifted into evil. Evil is like some sort of disease. It just gets worse and worse. And the news of Kara Murza's transfer to a prison hospital, his the denial of visitation rights to his lawyers, his declining health, his safety, all this comes at a time of heightened tension, and indeed the visit by Hungary's Viktor Orban, who ought to know better. It's the health of Kara Murza is a barometer for Russia's broader human rights record, and is a testimony to the way Russia handles political dissent and questions. There are so many questions that Putin's regime needs to answer, and we must not stop asking those questions. We must not stop demanding answers simply because we're not speaking to Russia. We must speak to Russia, and we must ask those questions, and we must put those points. And so I always salute people like Steve Rosenberg, who are actually still there and doing their job and getting the word out. And because we're not in a state of war with Russia, we should be talking, and we should be talking significantly more than we're doing.